You wait 40 minutes at a Sweetgreen on Pennsylvania Avenue for a $16 salad. You eat it at a desk covered in unreturned call logs. You adjust a single comma in a 2,000-page reconciliation bill. You watch a multinational shipping conglomerate's tax liability vanish by $4.2 billion. You arrive at the Cannon House office building at 7:30 a.m. You scan your ID badge at the security checkpoint. You print the daily legislative briefing for the representative. You verify the 15-minute meeting intervals on the Outlook calendar. You stand by the office Keurig and replace the plastic water reservoir. You answer the front desk phone. You record the zip codes of constituents screaming about the price of eggs. You hand a manila folder to a chief of staff who does not look at your face. Are you completely invisible? You eat a lukewarm protein bar while standing in the hallway. The Congressional Research Service lists the median salary for a House staff assistant at $45,000. Open Secrets reports over 12,000 registered lobbyists spent $4.2 billion in 2023. You walk back to your desk to check the voicemails. You tell yourself that controlling the member's calendar is the first phase of building a viable contact network. You draft 300 letters to voters regarding the Clean Water Act. You use the template provided by the senior legislative assistant. You change the names and the dates. The Congressional Research Service lists the average legislative correspondent salary in Washington, D.C. at $52,000. Legistorm data shows an average tenure of 1.4 years for the role. You attend a 4 p.m. briefing on semiconductor supply chains. You take 6 pages of notes. You summarize the notes into a 3-bullet point memo for the legislative director. You leave the office at 9 p.m. You take the metro home. You check your work email on the walk from the station. You tell yourself that learning the specific syntax of a standard rejection letter is the first step in learning how to say yes to the right people. You move to a firm on I Street. You carry a leather portfolio to a meeting at the Monocle. You listen to a senior partner explain a technical correction to a junior staffer in a senator's office. You research the donor history of 3 members of the House Ways and Means Committee. You cross-reference their campaign contributions with their previous votes on agricultural subsidies. You enter the data into a spreadsheet. Boutique lobbying firms charge monthly retainers ranging from $10,000 to $30,000 per client, according to Bloomberg Government. You order the car for the client's 6 p.m. fly-in reception. The top 10 lobbying firms represent over 1,500 clients, according to Senate Office of Public Records disclosures. You print the event briefing. You tell yourself that mapping technical corrections to committee schedules is the standard procedure for keeping the system operational. You manage the Political Action Committee for a mid-sized healthcare trade association. You sign a check for $5,000. Federal Election Commission regulations limit PAC contributions to $5,000 per candidate per election. You hand the envelope to a candidate at a fundraiser in a Capitol Hill townhouse. You explain the regulatory burden of a new EPA rule to a chief of staff. You used to fetch coffee for this person. Do you have enough leverage to hold their attention until the markup hearing? You host a dinner for 12 people at Fiola. The bill is $3,400. You put it on the firm's Amex. Ad Impact data shows total federal election spending exceeded $14 billion in 2024. You wake up at 5 a.m. You read Politico Playbook and the Morning Energy newsletter. You tell yourself that the price of a dinner is a rounding error compared to the cost of being ignored. You sit in an office with a view of the Washington Monument. You direct a team of 6 lobbyists. You review the legislative map for the upcoming fiscal year. You identify 4 swing votes on the Senate Finance Committee. You coordinate with the CEO. You ensure the quarterly earnings call mentions the favorable legislative environment. Open Secret's Revolving Door database identifies over 4,000 former government officials currently working as lobbyists. Senior vice presidents at major trade associations earn base salaries exceeding $500,000. You attend a private retreat in Middleburg with 2 committee chairs. You do not talk about bills. You talk about fly fishing and private equity. You tell yourself that the transition from policy to politics was the only logical way to maintain your autonomy. You sign a 3-year lease for an office on 14th Street. You hire a former cabinet secretary as a consultant. You receive a call from a Fortune 50 CEO on a Sunday morning. You name the exact tax code subclause targeted by the opposition. You place a call to a majority leader's cell phone. You wait 4 minutes for the callback. Brownstein Hyatt, Aiken Gump, Holland & Knight each reported over $100 million in annual lobbying revenue in 2023. Federal disclosures require filing every 90 days. You secure a seat at the head table for the Alfalfa Club dinner. You watch the news without the volume. You check the timestamp on your last message. You sit in a library in Georgetown. You draft a 40-page amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. The Congressional Research Service notes that complex bills exceed 1,000 pages. Private sector experts provide the initial drafts for over 60% of technical amendments. You use the font required by the Office of the Legislative Counsel. You insert the phrase, "notwithstanding any other provision of law." You email the PDF to a ranking member's personal account. You watch the C-SPAN feed. The member reads your words into the record. You drink a glass of water. You turn off your phone for 2 hours. You put the cap back on your pen. You stand inside the signature flight terminal at Dulles. You board a Gulfstream G650. You review the tax strategy for a sovereign wealth fund. You read a 90-page document. You define the framework for an asset class. You type 7 lines of text. Open Secrets reports shadow lobbying operates as a multi-billion-dollar industry outside federal LD2 filing requirements. Department of Justice files record over $3 billion in Foreign Agents Registration Act spending. You do not register as a lobbyist. You list your title as an advisor. You speak to 3 people in a week. Your name does not appear in the press. You look at the clouds through the window. You close the window shade. You land in Zurich at dawn. You fasten your seatbelt. A young man in a polyester suit walks into the lobby of the Hay Adams. He carries a leather portfolio. The leather still looks new. He asks the concierge for the location of the private dining room. He adjusts his tie in the mirror. You sit at a corner table with a cup of black coffee. You look at your watch. Did you ever move that fast? He walks past your table. He does not look at you. You signal the waiter for the check. He sits at the table you just vacated. The architecture remains while the residents change.